Chapter 1: The Unwanted King. They said King Thorn was a monster before they ever saw him shift. 7 feet tall, shoulders like mountains, hands that could crush stone. A wolf so massive that when he transformed, the ground trembled and lesser wolves whimpered in submission. Every pack from the northern territories to the coastal clans had sent their daughters. Beautiful, graceful, perfectly bred alphas and delicate lunas in waiting, and every single one of them had run. Not from his temper, not from his scars, from the sheer, overwhelming size of him. "He's too much," they whispered in the hallways of the royal den. "Terrifying, unnatural. No woman could ever—" The king heard every word, and tonight, under the blood moon, he'd stopped caring. I wasn't supposed to be here. I was a healer's apprentice, 3rd class Omega, invisible in every way that mattered. I'd come to the castle only to deliver winter's bane for the Queen Mother's arthritis. But when I rounded the corner into the empty throne room, I saw him, King Thorn, alone, sitting on a throne built for someone half his size, staring at his own massive hands like they were weapons he wished he could sheathe. He didn't smell like power. He smelled like loneliness. And that's when I made my first mistake. "Your Majesty," I whispered. Are you all right?" His head snapped toward me. Golden eyes, wolf eyes, locked onto mine. For 3 heartbeats, neither of us moved. Then his voice came, low and rough as gravel. "You should run." "Why?" "Because everyone does." I should have listened, should have bowed and disappeared like smoke, but something in his voice, broken, resigned, aching, made my wolf stir for the first time in years. "I'm not everyone," I said. His eyes widened, just slightly, like I'd said something in a language he'd forgotten existed. "What's your name?" he asked. "Sarah. Sarah." He repeated it slowly, testing the weight of it. "Do you know who I am?" "The king no one wants." A muscle ticked in his jaw. "And you're still standing here." "Someone should." He stood then, unfolding to his full, terrifying height, and suddenly the throne room felt too small. He took 1 step toward me, then another. Every instinct screamed, "Submit, lower your eyes, bare your throat." But I didn't. I met his gaze, and that's when I felt it. The snap, the pull, the golden thread of fate wrapping around my ribs and yanking me forward. "No, no, no, no. You're—" His voice cracked. "You're my mate." The world tilted. Because I knew what this meant, what it would cost. I was already promised to someone else. End of Chapter 1. Continue? Yes or no? If you'd like to continue, just say yes and I'll write Chapter 2. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kismet Publishing for more stories that'll keep you up at night wondering what happens next. Chapter 2. The Promised Omega. The mate bond slammed into me like a physical blow. Golden light, burning thread, his scent, pine and smoke and something ancient, flooding my senses until I couldn't breathe. King Thorn staggered back, one massive hand clutching his chest. "No," I whispered. This isn't... You feel it?" Not a question, a statement, raw, desperate. "Tell me you feel it." I did. God's help me. I felt everything. The bond singing between us. My wolf, dormant for so long I'd thought her broken, suddenly howling, clawing, begging me to go to him, but I couldn't. "I'm engaged," I choked out. The words hit him like silver bullets. His jaw clenched. Those golden eyes went dark. "To who?" "Garrett, beta of the Shadowpine Pack. You love him." The question should have been simple. It wasn't. I'm promised to him. My family arranged it. The dowry's been paid. The ceremony is in 3 weeks. That's not what I asked. My silence was answer enough. King Thorn moved closer, slow, controlled, like he was approaching a wounded animal. When he spoke again, his voice had dropped to something between a growl and a plea. "Sarah, look at me." I couldn't. If I looked at him, if I let myself feel this, please. That single word broke me. I looked up, and the world caught fire. The bond roared to life, fully formed, undeniable. I could feel his heartbeat, his pain, the years of rejection and loneliness carved into his soul like scars. "I can reject it," he said quietly. "The bond. If you want Garrett, if you love him, His voice cracked. "I'll let you go." "You'd do that?" "I've had a lifetime of people running from me, Sarah. I won't force you to stay." Something in my chest shattered. Because he meant it. This massive, terrifying king, this man every woman had fled from, was offering to destroy his own mate bond to let me be happy. "What if?" I whispered. "What if I don't want Garrett?" Hope flared in his eyes. Dangerous. Bright. "Then what do you want?" "I don't know. I need time to think. This is happening too fast. I can't just—" The doors to the throne room exploded open. Garrett strode in, flanked by 2 Shadowpine warriors. His eyes were cold, calculating. "So it's true," he said. "My little Omega, sneaking around the castle, alone with the king." I stepped back. "Garrett, this isn't what?" He smiled, but there was nothing warm in it. "Isn't you trying to seduce your way into royalty? Isn't you breaking our engagement contract?" I wasn't enough. King Thorn's voice rolled through the room like thunder. "You will not speak to her that way." Garrett's lip curled. "With respect, Your Majesty, she's mine. The contract is binding. Her family took my gold. She belongs to Shadowpine." "She belongs to no one. Doesn't she?" Garrett's eyes glittered. "Tell me, Sarah. Tell the king about the blood oath your father swore. Tell him what happens if you break our engagement." My blood went cold. "What oath?" Thorn demanded. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Garrett smiled wider. "If Sarah refuses to marry me, her entire family loses their pack status. Her mother, her father, her 2 younger brothers, all of them exiled, Omega status, forbidden from every territory in the northern lands." "You're lying," Thorn growled. "Am I?" Garrett pulled a scroll from his jacket. "Blood sealed, witnessed by 3 alpha witnesses, legal in every court." He tossed it at my feet. I didn't need to read it. I knew my father's signature, knew the desperate lengths he'd gone to secure our family's future. He'd sold me, and I'd known. I'd always known. Thorn looked at me. "Sarah, it's true," I whispered. "If I don't marry him, my family loses everything. Then we'll fight it. I'm the king. You can't break a blood oath." My voice was hollow. "No one can." Garrett's smile was triumphant. "So, shall we go home, Sarah? Or do you need more time to say goodbye to your fantasy?" Every cell in my body screamed to run to Thorn, to let the mate bond win, to choose him. But I saw my mother's face. My brothers, 12 and 14, too young to survive as exiled Omegas. "I'll go," I said. "Sarah, no. I'm sorry, Your Majesty." I couldn't look at him. If I looked at him, I'd break. This was a mistake. I turned toward Garrett, and that's when King Thorn's wolf surged forward. His eyes blazed pure gold. His voice dropped to something inhuman. "If you take her," he said to Garrett, "I will consider it an act of war." The temperature in the room plummeted. Garrett went pale. You would risk your kingdom for an Omega?" Thorn's smile was all teeth. "Try me." Chapter 3, The King's Gambit. The air crackled with power. King Thorn stood between me and Garrett, every inch of his massive frame radiating lethal intent. His wolf was right there beneath his skin, begging to be released. Garrett's warriors shifted nervously. They weren't stupid. Everyone knew what happened when the king's wolf came out. Mountains moved, alphas submitted, Blood ran. "Your Majesty," Garrett said carefully, "with all due respect, you're talking about breaking a legal blood contract. The Council won't—" "The Council," Thorne interrupted, his voice deadly quiet, "serves at my pleasure, not the other way around. But the law, I am the law." The words echoed through the throne room like a verdict. Garrett's face twisted. "You'd really go this far? For her?" His eyes flicked to me with pure contempt. "She's nothing. A third-class Omega with no rank, no power, no—" The king moved so fast I didn't see it. 1 second, he was 10 feet away. The next, his hand was wrapped around Garrett's throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighed nothing. "Say one more word about my mate," Thorne growled, "and I'll rip your tongue out." Mate. He'd said it out loud, in front of witnesses. There was no taking it back now. Garrett clawed at Thorne's hand, gasping. The king held him there for 3 more seconds, a demonstration, a warning, then dropped him. Garrett crashed to the floor, coughing. "Get out of my castle," Thorne said, "and tell your alpha that if Shadowpine challenges this bond, I'll burn your territory to ash." The warriors grabbed Garrett and dragged him toward the door. But before he left, Garrett turned back, his eyes blazing with humiliation and rage. "You'll regret this," he spat, "both of you." Then they were gone. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood there trembling, trying to process what had just happened. The king had claimed me, publicly, in front of Shadowpine witnesses. This wasn't just about a mate bond anymore. This was political, dangerous, potentially catastrophic. "Your Majesty," I whispered, "what have you done?" He turned to face me, and for the first time I saw vulnerability in those golden eyes. "What I should have done years ago," he said. "Stopped letting others decide my fate. But my family, the blood oath, I'll handle it. How? You can't just—" "Sarah." He crossed the room in 3 strides and cupped my face in his massive hands. Gentle, impossibly gentle. "Do you want this? Us? Tell me the truth." The bond hummed between us, warm and right and terrifying. "I don't know," I admitted. "I don't know you. You don't know me. This is happening so fast and Then we'll slow down." His thumb brushed my cheek. "I'm not Garrett. I won't force you into anything, but I need you to understand something." "What?" "I've spent my entire life being rejected, feared, avoided, and in one conversation, you made me feel like maybe I wasn't the monster everyone said I was." His voice roughened. "So yes, I claimed you, and I'd do it again. But if you want to walk away, if you truly don't want this bond, I'll find a way to break the blood oath and set you free." "You'd do that? Even after claiming me publicly?" "I'd do anything for you." The words hit me like a fist to the chest because I believed him. This massive, terrifying king who could crush armies, he'd let me go if I asked. "I need time," I said. Pain flashed across his face, but he nodded. "How much time?" "I don't know. A week? I need to talk to my family. Figure out what breaking the engagement will really cost them, and I need to—" I hesitated. "I need to know if this is real or just the bond talking." "It's real," he said immediately. "You don't know that. We barely know each other." "I know you didn't run. That's not— Everyone runs, Sarah. Everyone. But you stood there and asked if I was all right." His hands tightened slightly on my face. "Do you have any idea what that meant to me?" Tears burned behind my eyes. 1 week, I whispered. "Give me 1 week to sort this out." He released me, stepping back. The loss of his touch felt like losing sunlight. 1 week, he agreed, "but you stay here, in the castle." "What? Why?" "Because Garrett won't let this go. The second you leave these walls, you're vulnerable. Shadowpine could claim you were kidnapped, forced, coerced, or worse." His jaw clenched. "They could hurt you to punish me." "You think Garrett would—" I think he just lost his prize and his pride in front of witnesses. Men like that are dangerous when cornered. He wasn't wrong. Okay, I said. 1 week. Here. Relief flooded his features. Thank you. But I need my own room. Space to think. Of course. I'll have the guest suite prepared. It's in the east wing, far from my chambers. You'll have complete privacy. And my family? I need to send word. I'll arrange it. They'll be protected, I promise. I nodded, suddenly exhausted. The weight of everything, the bond, the claiming, the danger, crashed over me like a wave. Sarah, Thorne said softly, I know this isn't how you imagined your life going. No, I admitted, it's not. But maybe, he hesitated, vulnerable again. Maybe it could be better than what you imagined? I looked up at this massive, lonely king who'd just declared war for an Omega he barely knew. And for the first time, I let myself wonder. What if? 3 days passed in a blur. True to his word, King Thorne gave me space. I saw him only at meals, formal and distant, though I could feel his eyes on me constantly. The bond pulled at my ribs every time he was near, begging me to close the distance. But I resisted. I needed clarity, not hormones. My family arrived on the 3rd day. My mother hugged me so tightly I couldn't breathe. My brothers, Finn and Marcus, stared wide-eyed at the castle. And my father looked like he'd aged 10 years. Sarah, he said, his voice hollow, what have you done? We sat in the gardens, away from listening ears. I didn't plan this, I said. The bond just... it happened. A mate bond with the king. My mother's eyes were bright with tears. Do you know what this means? That I'm breaking your contract with Shadowpine. That you'll lose your status. I know, and I'm so sorry, but... No. My father cut me off. The king's lawyers contacted us yesterday. I froze. What? He's paying off the blood oath, 10 times what Garrett gave us, and he's elevating our family status to high Omega, direct royal support. The world tilted. What? He's handling everything, my mother said, laughing through tears. The contract, the oath, our future. He's giving us more than we ever dreamed. But why didn't he tell me? My father's expression softened. Maybe because he wanted you to choose him for him, not because he bought your family's approval. Oh, gods. There's something else, my father said carefully. Shadowpine has filed a formal complaint with the council. They're demanding a hearing. A hearing about what? Whether the king's claim was legitimate, whether you were coerced, whether... He hesitated. Whether an Omega is fit to be the king's mate. My blood ran cold. They're challenging the bond itself? They're challenging you. My mother grabbed my hand. Sarah, this hearing, it's in 3 days. And if the council rules against you, what happens? My parents exchanged a look. The bond will be legally nullified, my father said quietly, and you'll be forced to return to Garrett. Chapter 4. The Council's Judgment. The council chamber was a cathedral of power and ancient law, 12 high-backed chairs arranged in a semicircle. 12 alphas, the oldest, strongest, most influential in the Northern Territories, sat in judgment. Their eyes tracked me as I entered, and I felt their collective assessment like claws dragging across my skin. Too small, too weak, too Omega. King Thorne stood at the center of the chamber, a mountain of controlled fury. He'd been barred from sitting beside me. Conflict of interest, the council claimed. So I stood alone at the defendant's podium while my mate watched from 20 feet away. Every muscle in his body coiled tight. The bond between us thrummed with his barely contained rage. Alpha Rendall, council head, slammed his gavel. We convened to address the petition filed by Shadowpine Pack. The matter before us, whether King Thorne's mate claim was made under legitimate circumstances, and whether Sarah Whitmore is a suitable match for the throne. This is absurd, Thorne growled. The mate bond isn't subject to council approval. The bond itself, no, Rendell agreed. But when that bond involves our king and a contracted Omega, it becomes a matter of political stability. We have a duty to investigate. You have a duty to stay out of my personal life. Even kings answer to the law, Your Majesty. Thorne's eyes flashed gold, but he said nothing. One wrong move here, and they'd use it against me. Garrett stepped forward from the shadows. His face was bruised, probably from hitting the floor 3 days ago, but his smile was venomous. "Honorable Council," he began, voice dripping false sincerity. "I come before you not out of spite, but concern. Sarah Whitmore was bound to me by legal contract, a blood oath sealed by her father. Then she spent mere minutes alone with the king, and suddenly," he spread his hands, "a convenient mate bond appears?" Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "Are you suggesting the bond is fabricated?" Rendell asked. "I'm suggesting it's suspiciously convenient, an Omega desperate to escape her obligations, a lonely king eager for companionship. Perhaps they convince themselves they felt something that isn't really there." "That's not how mate bonds work," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Garrett's eyes cut to me. "Isn't it? Tell me, Sarah, how many times had you met the king before this supposed bond manifested?" "That was the first time." "The first time," he repeated slowly, "and within minutes you'd abandoned your family's honor, your sworn commitment, everything, for a man you'd never met? The bond doesn't ask permission, or perhaps you saw an opportunity." His voice hardened. "A third-class Omega with no prospects suddenly claims the king as her mate? It's quite the upgrade." "You bastard!" Thorne started forward, but 2 guards blocked his path. "Your Majesty, please," Rendell warned. "Outbursts will not help Miss Whitmore's case." I felt Thorne's fury through the bond, but he forced himself still. Garrett pressed his advantage. "I have witnesses who will testify that Sarah pursued the king deliberately, that she went to the throne room uninvited, that she—" "I was delivering medicine for the Queen Mother," I interrupted. "I took a wrong turn. That's all." "How convenient. It's the truth. Then let's test that truth." Garrett's smile widened. "The council has the authority to examine bonds suspected of being false. If yours is genuine, you have nothing to fear." Ice flooded my veins. I'd heard of bond examinations. They were invasive, painful, and, worst of all, they only worked if both parties fully accepted the bond. And I hadn't accepted it yet. "No." Thorne's voice was deadly. "You will not touch her." "If the bond is real," Rendell said carefully, "the examination will prove it. If it's not—" He looked at me with something like pity. "Then this has all been a terrible mistake, and Miss Whitmore will return to her lawful engagement. She's not going back to him. That's not your decision to make, Your Majesty, not until the bond is verified." The other council members nodded. I could see it in their faces. They'd already decided. They thought I was a gold digger, a desperate Omega who'd seduce their king, and the examination would prove them right. Because I hadn't fully accepted the bond, hadn't let it complete. There were still walls around my heart, doubts, fears. "Wait," my voice cut through the chamber. "I'll take the examination." Thorne's head snapped toward me. "Sarah, no, but I have conditions." Rendell raised an eyebrow. "You're not exactly in a position to negotiate, Miss Whitmore." "Aren't I?" I stepped forward, channeling every ounce of courage I had. "You want to test our bond? Fine. But if it proves real, and it will, then Shadowpine withdraws their petition completely. The blood oath is nullified, and Garrett never comes near me or my family again." "Agreed," Garrett said immediately. Too quickly. He knew. He knew I hadn't accepted the bond yet, which meant the examination would show an incomplete connection. Weak. Questionable. He thought he'd already won. "And one more thing," I said, meeting Rendell's gaze. "After I pass this examination, I want an apology. From each of you. For assuming an Omega couldn't be worthy of your king." Shock rippled through the chamber. "You dare," one council member started. "I dare," I said firmly, "because I'm about to prove that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Thorn was staring at me like he'd never seen me before. Through the bond, I felt his awe, his terror, his desperate hope. "Very well," Rendell said. "The examination will take place immediately. Examiner Reese, if you would." An ancient, white-haired wolf stepped forward. His eyes were clouded with age, but his power was unmistakable. He was a bond seer, one of the rare wolves who could read the threads of fate itself. "This will hurt," he warned me. "I know." He placed one gnarled hand on my chest, directly over my heart. Then he gestured to Thorn. "Your Majesty, I need you here as well." Thorn crossed the chamber in 3 strides and stood beside me. His hand found mine, massive and warm and steady. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "I've got you." I squeezed his hand, and then Examiner Reese activated his power. Pain. White-hot, searing pain as his magic dove into my chest and grabbed the mate bond like a physical thread. I felt him pulling it, testing it, examining every inch, and finding it incomplete. "Interesting," Reese murmured. Garrett's smile turned triumphant. But the examiner wasn't done. He pulled deeper, past the incomplete surface bond, past my fears and doubts, down to the very core of my soul where my wolf lived. And there, he found the truth. My wolf had accepted Thorn completely, irrevocably. From the moment our eyes met in the throne room, she'd chosen him. The only thing holding the bond back was my human fear. "I see," Reese said softly. He released us, and I collapsed. Thorn caught me before I hit the ground, pulling me against his chest. The chamber waited in breathless silence. "Well," Rendell demanded, "is the bond genuine or not?" Examiner Reese turned to face the council. His ancient eyes swept across each of them. And when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute truth. "I have examined thousands of mate bonds in my lifetime," he said. "I have seen political marriages, convenient pairings, forced connections. But this," he gestured to us, "this is the strongest true mate bond I have ever encountered." Garrett went white. "The bond is genuine," Reese continued, "faded, unbreakable, and more than that." He looked at me with something like wonder. "The Omega's wolf has claimed the king as thoroughly as he has claimed her. She is his perfect match." "But the bond felt incomplete," Garrett protested desperately. "Because she's fighting it," Reese said simply. "Her wolf has accepted. Her soul has accepted. But her mind, shaped by years of being told she's not enough, is afraid to believe she deserves him." He smiled. "Give it time. When she finally lets go of that fear, their bond will be the stuff of legends." The council chamber erupted into whispered conversations. Rendell banged his gavel. "Order! This council hereby recognizes the mate bond between King Thorn and Sarah Whitmore as legitimate and binding. Shadowpine's petition is denied." Garrett's face twisted with rage. "This is over," Thorn said coldly. "It's over, Garrett. You lost. Now fulfill your end of the agreement and stay away from my mate." "Your Majesty," Rendell said, "there is still the matter of Miss Whitmore's suitability for the throne. A mate bond is one thing, but nothing." Thorn's voice brooked no argument. "The bond has been verified. The examination is complete. And unless you want to explain to the Northern Territories why you're questioning the moon goddess's choice of mate for your king, I suggest we adjourn." The threat hung in the air. One by one, the council members nodded. "Very well," Rendell said tightly. "This session is concluded." As the chamber emptied, Thorn pulled me closer, his hand cradling the back of my head. "You were incredible," he whispered. "I was terrified." "You were perfect." I looked up at him, this massive, powerful king who'd just gone to war with his own council for me, and felt something shift in my chest, the last wall crumbling. "Thorn," I said softly, "take me home." His eyes flared with hope. Home? To the castle. To us. And for the first time since the bond snapped into place, I didn't fight it. I let it in. The bond blazed to life, complete, whole, blinding. And Thorn gasped as he felt it too. The full force of our connection, no longer held back by fear or doubt. "Sarah," he breathed. "I'm yours," I whispered, "if you'll have me." He kissed me then, right there in the council chamber, in front of anyone still watching, and it felt like coming home. But as we left the chamber hand in hand, neither of us saw Garrett watching from the shadows, or the murderous promise in his eyes. Chapter 5. The Alpha King's Reckoning. The castle was silent when we returned. Too silent. Thorn's hand tightened on mine as we crossed the threshold into the main hall. His wolf was on edge, and through our now complete bond, I felt his unease bleed into me like ink in water. "Something's wrong," he murmured. "What do you—" The lights went out, complete darkness. Then a sound, footsteps, dozens of them, surrounding us from every direction. "Thorn! Stay behind me!" His voice had dropped to that inhuman growl, his wolf surfacing. A torch flared to life, then another, and another, until we were surrounded by 30 wolves, shadow pine warriors, every one of them. And at their head, Garrett stepped forward with a smile that promised violence. "Did you really think," he said, "that I'd just walk away?" Thorn shifted, putting his massive body between me and the threat. "You've broken about 15 laws by bringing warriors into the royal castle. Leave now, and I'll only imprison you for a decade." "Imprison me?" Garrett laughed. "You're outnumbered, Your Majesty. Alone. And I have 30 of the best fighters in Shadowpine. Then you'll need more." Thorn's power exploded outward, a shockwave of pure alpha dominance that sent half of Garrett's wolves to their knees. Some whimpered. Others shifted involuntarily, their wolves forcing submission. But Garrett had planned for this. He pulled something from his jacket. A vial, dark liquid that reeked of wolfsbane, and something worse. "Silver essence," Thorn said, his voice tight. "That's illegal in every territory." "So is stealing another alpha's contracted mate." Garrett uncorked the vial. "This will suppress your wolf for about an hour, more than enough time for me to take what's mine. Touch her and I'll kill you with my bare hands." "You'll try." Garrett threw the vial. It shattered at Thorn's feet, and black smoke erupted, wrapping around him like chains. He roared, a sound of pure rage and pain, as the silver essence burned through his system. His wolf retreated, his power dimmed, and suddenly he was just a man facing 30 warriors. "No!" I screamed. Garrett's eyes locked on me. "There she is, my runaway bride." "I was never yours. You took my gold, made promises, then humiliated me in front of the council." He stalked toward me, and Thorn tried to block him but staggered, weakened. "Do you know what that cost me? My reputation, my honor, everything. That's not my fault." "Isn't it?" His roar echoed through the hall. "I gave you everything, a home, status, protection, and you threw it away for what? For him?" He gestured dismissively at Thorn. "A monster too big for any normal woman. You think he can actually—" "Stop talking," I said coldly. "You know nothing about him." "I know enough. I know he's weak right now, vulnerable. And I know that if he dies defending you—" Garrett's smile turned cruel. "The bond will break. You'll be free. And you'll come back to me." Horror crashed through me. He was going to kill Thorn. "Please," I begged. "Please don't do this. I'll go with you. Willingly. Just don't hurt him." "Sarah, no." Thorn's voice was rough with pain. "It's too late for deals," Garrett said. "I want you to watch him fall. I want you to see what happens when you choose wrong." He gestured, and his warriors surged forward. Thorn fought like a demon, even weakened, even poisoned. He was still a king. He broke bones, crushed windpipes, moved with terrifying precision. But there were too many. They dragged him down, held him, and Garrett pulled a silver blade from his belt. "Any last words, Your Majesty?" Thorn's eyes found mine. Even now, beaten, bleeding, about to die, there was no fear in them, only love. "I don't regret it," he said. "Any of it." The bond between us blazed with his certainty, his acceptance, his absolute conviction that I was worth this, and something inside me snapped, not broke, awakened. Heat flooded my body. Power, raw and ancient and terrifying, surged up from somewhere deep in my soul. My wolf, dormant for so long, suddenly roared to the surface. But she wasn't just any wolf. She was something else, something more. Let him go. My voice echoed with command, true alpha command, the kind that couldn't be denied. Every wolf in the room froze, including Garrett. "What?" He stared at me, confusion and fear warring on his face. "You're an Omega. You can't—" "I'm not an Omega." The words came from somewhere ancient, somewhere true. I never was. Examiner Reese's words from the council chamber suddenly made sense. The strongest true mate bond I have ever encountered. Because the moon goddess doesn't pair kings with Omegas. She pairs them with equals. Light erupted from my body, silver and gold and blinding. My wolf surged forward, and when I shifted, I felt it. The truth I'd been suppressing my entire life. I was an alpha, a true alpha, hidden, suppressed by years of being told I was weak, being forced into a role too small for me, but not anymore. My wolf was massive, not as large as Thorn's, but close. Silver-white fur, eyes like moonlight, and when I growled, the sound shook the foundations of the castle. Garrett's warriors released Thorn and backed away, their wolves forcing submission. Garrett himself had gone pale. "This isn't possible." I shifted back, standing in the wreckage of my clothes, power radiating from every pore. "You wanted a weak Omega you could control," I said, "but that's not who I am. It never was." "You lied." I didn't know. And that was the truth. I'd been suppressed so long I believed it myself, but the bond with Thorn, it woke something up, showed me what I really am. Thorn was staring at me with wonder and pride and fierce, burning love. Garrett's hand tightened on his blade. "It doesn't matter. You're still one woman. We're still 30... Actually," a voice called from the shadows, "you're surrounded." The royal guard poured into the hall from every entrance. 50 wolves, loyal to their king, with weapons drawn. Captain Reeves stepped forward. "We received word of an intruder alert 15 minutes ago, Your Majesty. We've been waiting for your signal." Thorn smiled despite his injuries. "I sent the alert the second we entered the hall. Did you really think I wouldn't have contingencies, Garrett?" Garrett's face twisted with rage and desperation. "This isn't over." "Yes," I said firmly. "It is." I walked to him, letting my new alpha power roll off me in waves. He tried to meet my eyes and couldn't. His wolf was forcing him down, down until he was on his knees. "You will never threaten me or my mate again," I said. "You will return to Shadowpine and tell your alpha what happened here. And if you ever come near us, if you ever even speak our names, I will personally hunt you down and show you what a real alpha can do. You can't, I can, I will. Test me." He saw the truth in my eyes, the promise. And finally, he understood. He'd lost. "Take them," Thorn ordered, his voice still rough from the silver essence. "Shadowpine Pack will answer for this attack. We'll deal with their alpha tomorrow." The guards dragged Garrett and his warriors away. His eyes stayed on me until the very end, filled with hatred and disbelief. Then they were gone, and I was alone with my mate. Thorn tried to stand and stumbled. I was there instantly, catching him, supporting his weight. "Easy," I murmured. "The silver essence needs time to clear." "You're an alpha." His voice was full of wonder. "All this time, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. I believe you. He cupped my face with a shaking hand. God, Sarah, you're magnificent. I'm terrified. Why? Because everything just changed. I'm not who I thought I was. My whole life, your whole life led you here. He pulled me closer despite his injuries. To me, to this, and I don't care if you're an Omega or an Alpha or anything in between. You're mine, and I'm yours. The bond between us sang with truth. I love you, I whispered. I know it's fast and crazy and we barely know each other, but I love you too. He kissed me, gentle despite everything. From the moment you asked if I was all right, I laughed through tears. That's all it took? That's everything. 3 months later, the coronation was beautiful. They'd argued about it. The council, the nobles, everyone with an opinion. An alpha female as queen was unprecedented, controversial, difficult. But Thorn had looked at each objection and said the same thing. She's my mate. She's my choice. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with her wolf. No one took him up on the offer. Now I stood on the balcony overlooking the northern territories, wearing a crown that felt both foreign and right. Thorn's arm was wrapped around my waist, his presence solid and warm. Do you ever regret it? I asked. That night in the throne room. If I'd let you walk away, he interrupted, I'd still be alone, miserable, convinced I was meant to be a monster. He turned me to face him. You showed me I could be more, and then you became more yourself. How could I possibly regret that? I kissed him. My mate, my king, my home. Below us, the territories stretched out in endless possibility. There would be challenges ahead, political complications, more Garretts trying to cause trouble. But we would face them together, an alpha king and his alpha queen, equal, matched, unstoppable. Ready to rule a kingdom? Thorn murmured against my lips. I smiled. With you, always. And as the moon rose over the castle, full and bright and perfect, I heard my wolf's satisfied purr echo through the bond. This was exactly where we were meant to be. Thank you for reading No Woman Wanted the Alpha King Over His Size, until the one person who shouldn't. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment telling me your favorite moment, and subscribe to Kismet Publishing for more werewolf stories that'll keep you up all night. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next upload. What did you think? Did you predict Sarah was an alpha? Did you love the bond between her and Thorn? Let me know below. And if you want more stories like this, mates, rejection, revenge, and redemption, I've got plenty more coming your way. Thanks for being part of the pack. See you in the next story.